I don't know if you could hear me for that. Alright, so I'm not sure if you could have heard me because I clicked the button wrong. Mark and Patrick and I are going to show up in a few minutes, but we're going to leave this counter on screen to make sure that we're not late. And we'll catch you on the flip side. That's just me turning off my video, not ending the stream. Greetings!
Hello, hello.
Hey, that's my headphones. You can't eat that. Especially now that you have a tooth.
Are we live?
We're live.
Nice.
I don't know if my improv filling in for you on the intro announcement worked or not because I wasn't on screen. Like I know we're
Oh,
never on screen when it happens, but the app said you're not on screen. People can't hear you, but I'm the first one in the room, so I don't know.
we'll have to watch the replay and find out.
That we will. What's up,
Yeah.
Moto? You ready to watch Elon and crew tell us about the stock?
Find out how your inheritance is going to
Pretty
go.
much. Exactly.
If your college will be funded or not.
Right. Yeah, so we're on the PC, so this is back. But
Oh,
I'm on a
that's
2K
cool.
camera because they didn't just remove the ability to flip the camera from the Mac.
Uh-oh. I lost you. Am I still on? Hey, people.
Oh, that was weird. Are we
Yeah,
still
that was weird.
Are we still live? I can't see the stream.
I will go check.
And while you're checking on that, so the camera's still upside down, but rather than come up with a software solution like I did on the Mac, I said, I've got this camera that this Chinese company wanted me to review that is just sitting on the monitor as
Yes,
well. Okay,
we
good,
are back live.
good. And they can hear us, right? Well, I mean, I guess so if we can hear each other.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust that.
That's a good point.
So yeah, the Tesla investor newsletter is already out.
Oh, let me read it.
Yeah, so
I
we've got
didn't do
17
that yet.
minutes to until the big event. So if you can share that, we can go through the highlights.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me pull it up.
ir.tesla.com.
Yeah, yeah. Download.
All the good stuff. I wish every company just made it that easy.
Right?
IR dot company name dot whatever your extension or
I
net.
noticed that all the Muscos have really useful, like, you don't have to, like, go to the homepage and click on links. If you know where you're going, you can just
Yeah,
type it in.
right.
But Model S is
Shop
funny because it shows up as models. And it always has.
models. Yeah. If
All
you
right,
want some
so
models, that's where you go shopping.
models. These are the models we have. Oh, that's only one car. All right, what page am I looking at?
Oh yeah, so just yeah, let's go through this one right here. Um, Operating cash flow less capex, in other words, free cash flow of 3.3 billion in Q3. So yet another record quarter, because that's what Tesla does. 11 of the last 12, I guess now 12 of the last 13 quarters have been record quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the summary section there, you can see um, record revenue, operating profit, and free cash flow. In the last 12 months, our free cash flow exceeded $8.9 billion.
Good gracious.
Operating margin of 7.2%, which 7.2 is industry leading, if not the best. But I expected it to be higher because they've been raising prices.
Right.
I think
But
later we'll see in here that they had
the
they had more
costs have
sales
gone
in
up so
China.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those two things. The prices are not as high in China, and their costs have gone up. So that even with that, they still have 17.2%.
Not
So
bad.
that's that is really good stuff. So this one, let's just hit a few of the highlights here.
Okay.
Top line, automotive revenue. And the one that matters is our Q3 here. So if you look at the far right column is year over year. So 55% growth from Q3 of last year to Q3 of this year.
That's
And
incredible.
that is incredible. Yeah, they're already a big company and they're still growing at this rate. When you're small, it's easy to grow high percentages. But
Yes.
let's just that was the automotive revenue, and then the first one in the next group, total revenue, that is up 56%. So, and then if you go down to their adjusted EBITDA, 55%. So on the key metrics, they are growing uh, incredibly well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is just digging into the same stuff in more detail. Total revenue grew 56% year over year, just like we just said for Q3. Revenue was impacted by the following items: growth in vehicle deliveries, of course. How do you get revenue? You sell stuff. So they sold
Right.
more stuff. Increase in ASPs year over year. So we just talked about how their average selling price was up, but then again, ASP decreased sequentially as per the prior quarter's ASP was driven down by limited Shanghai production. So
Oh.
Shanghai's one of their most efficient factories, and so the
Low cost of labor
per
too.
vehicles is going to be yeah. So the fact that they had some shutdowns in Q2. So
Like a
this
whole
is for
month and change,
Q3.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's within. There's always vehicles that are produced in one quarter, sold in the next.
Yeah. Well, plus there's the whole matter of while you're shut down, now you've got a backlog at the port.
Mm-hmm.
Plus stuff that should have already been in transit is not.
Right. I don't know what this negative FX impact is. I don't know what that line. What's the FX?
That's a good question.
Yeah. If anybody in the chat knows what FX refers to,
Oh, here we go.
maybe that's their new
Superchargers.
model. No, I'm kidding.
Superchargers and storage. Oh, and store locations. So they've added 16% new stores
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
32% superchargers, which we've seen, which is nice.
Right. Yes.
And then people keep saying, "Oh, what about the fossil fuel plants, the nuclear, and blah blah blah?" Well, 13% more solar. And remember, last year they outclassed everything they used, even at people's homes with solar. So
Right.
if they can keep that up, then that'll be the case again this year.
Yeah, it's nice to see solar's. I wish it was more like 50% growth, like some of the
Yes,
others.
because then it would match.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, they can continue to keep bragging that the solar's produced enough. If vehicles are growing at 50% and solar's only growing at 13%, that they're not going to be able
They'll
to say
catch
that
up
for too much longer. Yeah.
exactly. Unless the factories get a lot more efficient. Let's
Right.
see.
But the
Oh,
batteries.
but also the factories don't use Tesla Solar. They use third-party vendors.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
They use Tesla storage, but not Tesla Solar.
Mm-hmm.
So they could still be there if they got Texas and Nevada up enough.
Yeah, those are some big roofs. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And some of the big supercharger locations that they're doing, they're going to have solar on those as well.
Oh, yes.
Which may not be Tesla solar.
It might not be. Yeah, that would make sense too.
Yeah. It seems like every parking lot should have solar carports.
Yeah.
It protects you from the rain, gives you some shade in the summer, and
turns your cost. What do you call it? It's not capital, is it? It's fixed cost.
Yeah.
Is it capital? Into productive cost.
Right. Yes. Instead of just sitting there and not doing anything for you, it's producing.
Yeah.
energy.
Instead of having to like resurface it every 5 to 10 years, now you get to resurface it, and it made you some money.
Right. It might pay for its own resurfacing.
Yeah.
There's Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, some technical difficulties on my end. For whatever reason, a port on the computer stopped working, and the camera completely crapped out on me. So I had to go.
Camera.
I had to switch.
Yeah.
I moved from another computer, so that's why I'm late.
Okay. And then the reason the time was off was I read the Texas time instead of the Eastern time, even though I lined it up correctly, and I went to copy from screen to screen, and I failed miserably. I am also on a different computer because the RAM failed on my Mac, so that's why I'm back on the PC.
Oh. Lots of technical difficulties.
All sorts of fun today for a live
Yeah.
stream that we tried for the first time in a while.
In a while. They got the
At a different time, that is.
that too, yeah. They got the machine this morning at like 8 o'clock. They emailed me, and then they didn't ask for a password or anything when I tried to send it in. So I don't know what they're testing. If they already told me they're going to replace it, but I guess that's a process. Can you let go of my headphone cord, please? You're dragging my head down. Before Mark got on, she was trying to eat it.
Oh wait, so stay on that screen for a moment.
Autopilot,
so this
full
is
self-drive?
Yeah, exactly. Full self-driving miles there. Check that out. The you can see the exponential growth. So they are getting more and more data.
Oh, yeah.
One of the cool things we learned at AI Day is if there's something they're interested in, whatever it is, bicyclists or campers or strange intersections, that they can ask the fleet for that data and then get back clips of that data. So anything that they're trying to fix, they can collect lots and lots of data. And the more cars they have running this, the more in their fleet, the more access they have to that data. And data is what solves these problems. The neural nets, the more data you can throw at them, the more layers you can have, the better the results.
There you go. So I like this part right here. They're getting ready to transition to the Tesla profiles in the cloud.
Yes.
I hope that they don't forget us legacy owners again. Especially the people who bought a legacy car in 2022. Those people are screwed. Because they paid extra and they got nothing.
I don't know that they're screwed. But
Tesla obviously doesn't care about them.
I mean, here's a perfect example. On the screen, you're showing the new energy consumption graphs.
We don't get that.
And yeah, I was just looking, and I have a 2016 Model X. I don't have that feature, but the energy graph I have isn't bad. So this one's just better.
Right.
So, and I still get updates. So I mean, I wouldn't say Tesla doesn't care and I'm screwed. That's hyperbole. Come on.
Okay, yes, it is a little bit of an exaggeration, but simple stuff that has no reason to be excluded, like remote sentry view, which has nothing to do with the fact that our screens are facing the wrong way. Come on, Tesla. At least say, hey, it's on we're going to do it within 3 versions, but you guys are not a priority. Say that. Don't say, oh, it's impossible, because just like they say it's impossible to roll up my windows, and then I got a third-party app that can roll my windows up.
Right.
And before the third-party app, I watched my technician roll my windows up through his daggum laptop. So clearly, there's a mechanism.
Right, but I mean, you've done software development.
I have.
Anytime you start digging into that old stuff, sometimes things break you didn't anticipate, and then you have to do extra 6 weeks of work to get everything just back together again with the new feature in there. And so the testing, the validation, the
low priority versus impossible.
Exactly. Yes. And impossible makes people feel better. Oh, okay.
Makes me upset when
For
don't lie to me.
People who don't know, it's the easier way to tell them that's not going to happen.
Okay, fair.
Telling someone I don't care about you, you don't matter. This is not.
Well, that's what I get when they lie.
That's never a good good response.
Yes. You're not my priority.
Right.
Oh, man, that hurts. Saying, "Oh, I'd really like to do it." Oh, we lost Casey.
Casey again. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that the
Elon didn't like that.
Here we go.
All right, somebody check the stream. Make sure it's on.
Have you got baby touching the remote?
No, she's just yanking on my ear, which is audio only. So
stream's still going.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Anytime it flashes like that, let me know if the stream stops, because that's happened before.
I'm gonna mute it, but keep it running over there just so I can check.
All right. Storage. Oh, dadgum, look at storage.
Yeah.
Storage jump. Well, that's because they're starting to make more batteries, right?
They finally unloaded that field outside of Giga Nevada.
They've been in constraint. So Eric had the question about foreign exchange. And I do think that is addressed in here. They said the dollar is getting stronger.
Well, he was asking if that was the FX abbreviation.
Oh, foreign exchange. Thank you.
But
yes, Mars with that feature possible. Exactly, Eric.
The U.S. dollar is getting more strengthened as time goes along here. So that's not either.
The UK shot themselves in the foot, so they helped us along.
Yeah, China's economy is not doing great either. They've had some stumbles.
Well, I mean, if you want an American system, you got to go all out. You can't just try and pick and choose it.
Which is what they tried to do and continue to try. But
yes,
it's that energy storage is a great sign that the other side of the business is now growing. Because before they were artificially constraining it based on the batteries needed to be used in the cars.
Yeah.
So the cars were obviously they're first on the list, and energy storage was second. So it's good to see they're starting to grow here. And of course, that's also combined with some of the information we've received that you can now buy a power wall without having solar installed.
Again.
So these are other things showing that the constraints are a little bit off compared to what they were a year ago.
Yeah, it also makes sense when you consider that that they don't do traditional advertising. So one person with solar on their roof is going to bring in maybe 2 more customers, whereas one car rolling around town is going to bring in maybe 20 customers.
Good point.
With the same chips that you need, because they go for commodity chips.
Yeah.
And then the power conversion, they're all converting the same power. So
Exactly.
Outlook. So the forward-looking. I haven't looked. What did the market think? Because this came out right after close. So
it did. Yeah, I didn't look at that part. I just know that the market usually seems to think that they're better than they are. But at the same time, also saying that they're terrible and they'll never catch up. It's like, well, if they told you they're going to do 225 and they do 250, that sounds like a win to me. Oh no, they were supposed to do 260. Like, who said? We did. Oh, who are you?
Right. So after hours, it looks like it's down to about 214. When it closed at 222.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And so the market's supposed to be forward-looking, which what made me think about it is we got to this outlook. So what is it that on this page right here that we have on the screen that made people think that it should be down 9, 10 points?
That's a good question.
Oh, just setting record after record wasn't good enough, huh?
Well, it's expectations, right? Like that's Wall Street runs its own expectations, always has on every stock, and they're playing devil's advocate, saying that Tesla's expectations are a little bit lower than what they should be, and therefore the stock suffers from.
But at the same time, they say if they can't meet. If they're suggesting that Tesla does, is having problems, then why make it harder than Tesla says that they can do? It's like, oh yeah, they're going to extra fail this week
because they feel they're sandbagging. That's why.
Right. But I'm saying if you're saying that you don't think they can meet the number that they can do, but you set a target higher than what they set, and then complain that they didn't meet either number.
Well, again, the analysts are saying we are better at analyzing Tesla as a company than Tesla themselves are. That's what they're saying.
If only they were actually that good at
it. And certainly some companies play that game where they'll sandbag by saying, we're really going to make this many units, and the market says you should be able to do more because of your past performance.
Right, especially if they're off like every quarter, like this is just like they don't want to look bad in front of the world or something. I get that, but like when you've got ones where they're pretty good at it, then it just feels a little weird to suggest that you know better when you don't even understand how half of their business works.
Well, I'm not saying they do know better. I'm just saying that's what they're doing. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But of course, that might be like Dunning-Kruger, like they don't know that they don't know how energy and solar work or storage and energy work,
or AI
AI.
Go back to that. There was something near the very end, and I wonder if this is what the market didn't like. We're making progress on the industrialization of Cybertruck, which is currently planned for Texas production subsequent to the Model Y ramp. So
how's that bad?
It does. It just says after Model Y. It doesn't say
when.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't say when. So
but it didn't say they're delayed from what they already told us from the last delay.
Right. It could be a hint at it. If I was trying to figure out what is negative here. So I'm trying to read it in the most negative light. And in the most negative light, you could take that as, oh man, it's only going to be after that. Who knows how long that'll take.
Right.
But again, I don't know. I'm just,
Is my camera shaking on the stream? Is it not seeing it shake on in person or in the streamer's stage.
It looks fine.
Okay, maybe it's just the way they're presenting it back to me. It's
Yeah.
jumping like crazy.
No, it's
Oh,
not
weird.
jumping at all. You're good.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that
Relax.
the last sentence in there is about the semi rollout
Yeah.
starting
Yes.
in December of this year. And some of the stories that we posted on the Tesla Life Twitter feed this week showed more of that. There was a VIN decoder that came up that showed production amounts, and then there was a photograph taken, an aerial photograph taken where the trucks are being made, and someone counted there's 24 of them
Oh, wow.
sitting out
Wow.
there.
And we only know for sure that Pepsi's getting 2 of them.
Right. So we're not sure if these are all just prototypes, if these are testing modules, but there were 24 of them in a lot behind the factory. So obviously that's a lot more than I expected that would be sitting out. Here we are mid-October.
Oh yeah.
I wonder how many of those Teslas going to be dog fooding.
Yeah.
Good point.
Could be that they're using them for parts. It could be that these are some prototypes that they have made and know that these particular ones aren't going forward in the development process. Could be a number of things.
Do they have to crash test
Oh yes.
vehicles that size? That
If they want a rating, they do.
I've never seen a video of a semi crash test. Have you?
Me neither.
I've seen a handful, but I don't not like I see for the sedans and SUVs and stuff. I don't see like all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. That when that comes out, we're gonna have to share it on the show.
In fact, I've seen more of them running into barriers than I've seen of them crashing for safety.
Well, that's regular traffic cams, right?
Oh, we lost Casey again.
Just
What
regular
is
traffic
going on?
cams. He must be seeing, because I've never seen an actual recording of that.
Stream is still going.
Okay, good. So before the thing interrupted us, I saw a couple like where they were testing out like protection barriers to make sure like a truck couldn't enter a building or the wrong lane. But what were you referencing before it cut you off there, Mark?
I was saying, did you see that on a traffic cam? Is that where you're seeing these crashes?
No, these were actual like regular crash tests, which was always kind of cool because they're so much larger than the stuff you usually see in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another story that came out this week that relates to Giga Berlin that you're showing there is that despite some media reports that have been out, they are definitely going to be making the 4680 batteries there. There's been a lot of naysayers that have said that equipment's even being shipped back to the United States because there's issues, but this is in the normal, I guess, normal type development. They're still going to make the 4680s here. They are not rolling it out as quickly as, say, Texas is, because Texas has a requirement to get the Cybertruck going. So they got to get the 4680s perfect before the Cybertruck starts rolling. So in Berlin, they've got the ability that they've got more time because they've already got the Model Y up and running on the 2170s. And if the 4680s take longer, that's fine. They can run with the 2170s for the foreseeable future and work on getting the lines right and the production numbers and quality for the 4680s perfect.
There's also Fremont got approved for another battery line in the second floor of Fremont, and speculation is that's for Cybertruck while they get Texas up and running.
Exactly. So that's another. The expertise from Cato Road is probably being installed on that second floor, and
or even just the output, put them into packs. Like
Yeah.
ship them. Like the seats are going one way, and then instead of sending an empty conveyor back, the conveyor could come back with a rack of batteries, and then you just put them into a pack.
So there is that they are looking at different ways of maximizing the 4680 runs. And of course, the group with the most experience is being put on deck to start with.
It makes sense. Man.
And Shanghai, The plant that has no limits.
That we know of. All you gotta do is tweet some weird stuff, and they'll let you keep going.
And
Hey, there's
make sure
Texas.
nobody has COVID.
That too, yeah. Also make sure nobody has COVID because they'll shut you down in a minute.
Yep.
So these are like the next gen KUKA robots. They look a lot more trim than the ones over at Fremont.
They are.
Ah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to do a different theme for the naming instead of X-Men.
They might have run out of X-Men by now, yeah.
Yeah. We have more robots than X-Men for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, the solar installation at Texas coming along.
Yeah, we need to do that same thing in the Giga Berlin.
And Shanghai, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for those that are saying, "Oh, that's not even a good percentage," blah blah blah. Don't forget this building is a mile long, so this is a lot of solar cells.
Yeah, and they initially spread it out, obviously, so they could at least get the remnants of the word Tesla into the roof without completing it. So they're adding it they're adding it as they can, but the priority was to get the letters to show initially.
Versus what they did at Nevada, where they just let it like just the very edge of it, and then they'll just slowly work our way up.
Yeah, blocks of it, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, here we go, some metrics: free cash flow, EBITDA, and vehicle deliveries in the millions, unaudited. You remember when it used to be a really bad thing in the view of the analysts that their stuff was estimated not according to GAAP and et cetera, et cetera. And now they're just like, these numbers are close enough for us to squabble about.
Well, remember, what was it back in 2009 or 2010 when every quarter the problem was how far in debt they were going, right?
Right.
But now it's completely changed.
I can't emphasize enough. We have excellent demand for Q4.
We're on.
And we expect to sell every car that we make for as far into the future as we can see. So
there's a statement.
The factories are running at full speed, and we're delivering every car we make and keeping operating margins strong.
I'm surprised that none of our stuff like auto started, despite the fact that it was counting down.
Of the total vehicles on the road, of the 2 billion cars and trucks on the road, we only have about 3.5 million. So we've got a long way to go to even reach 1% of the global fleet.
Casey again. What's going on, Casey?
Based on many things, but certainly questions I get on Twitter about buybacks, and I think every one of our board members has gotten questions about buybacks. We've debated the buyback idea extensively at the board level. The board generally thinks that it makes sense to do a buyback, but we want to work through the right process to make it possible for us to do a buyback on the order of $5 to $10 billion, even in the downside scenario of next year. Even if next year is a very difficult year, we still have the ability to do a $5 to $10 billion buyback. This is obviously pending board review and approval. So it's likely that we'll do some meaningful buyback.
That's great to hear.
So in conclusion, while the market themes revolve around the short term, it's very important to focus on the long term. I can't emphasize this enough with investors, and I think long-time investors obviously recognize this with Tesla. We have your sort of local ups and downs, but the long-term trend has been extremely good. And several years ago, I said, I think on an earnings call, that I thought it was possible for Tesla to be worth more than Apple, which was then the highest market cap company, I think, on the market. And Apple at the time, I think, was around $700 billion. And I said it required incredible execution, at least some luck, and we didn't indeed achieve that. Tesla went, in fact, far past Apple's market cap at the time. And now I'm of the opinion that we can far exceed Apple's current market cap. In fact, I see a potential path for Tesla to be worth more than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined.
Oh, wow.
So now that doesn't mean
That's
it will
what,
happen.
$5 trillion? I'd have to look.
Or that will be easy.
Well, hopefully the Saudis are doing
It'll be
this.
very difficult. It'll require a lot of work, some very creative new products.
Actually, as Tesla sells vehicles, Saudi's worth keeps going down.
But for the first time, I am seeing. I see a way for Tesla to be, let's say, roughly twice the value of Saudi Aramco. And I think that's. I haven't quite seen that yet. I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing that potential. So.
What has changed his mind?
I mean, we have an incredible product portfolio. I think we've got the most exciting product portfolio of any company on earth. Some of which you've heard about, some of which you haven't.
The bot.
We're in the final lap for Cybertruck. We're building the Cybertruck line here at Giga Texas, Austin. And making a lot of progress in the robotaxi platform design. And and then with respect to batteries, we're moving as fast as possible to have to achieve 1,000 gigawatt hours a year of production capacity in the United States. Vertically integrated. So anode, cathode, lithium refining. We're moving at a top speed to do that. So I think it's an incredibly exciting future, and really an unprecedented future. But none of this would be possible without the incredible team that we have here at Tesla. So I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of our factory employees, engineers, executives, and the whole Tesla team. You guys rock. You're the ones making it happen. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And Zach has one for remarks as well.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Just to continue on Elon's theme, I just want to thank and congratulate the Tesla team for achieving record vehicle deliveries, production, and storage deployments in the third quarter. On automotive profitability, our GAAP operating margin was 17.2%, with automotive gross margin at 27.9%. Operating margin is one of our best yet, with improvements in operating leverage. However, Austin and Berlin ramp costs weighed on our margins, particularly if you compare it to Q1. Removing regulatory credits and Austin and Berlin, our operating margins would have been our strongest yet, and auto gross margin would have been nearly 30%. Note that while small and growing, each car we build in Austin and Berlin is contributing positively to profitability. We also continue to experience margin headwinds associated with macroeconomic conditions, as we've discussed at length on prior calls. In particular, raw materials, logistics, and foreign exchange was a big part of this past quarter. On energy profitability, we achieved our strongest gross profit yet for this business, driven primarily by record volumes of our Megapack and Firewall products. Our free cash flows were also a record, despite an increase in cars in transit at the end of the quarter, which has a negative impact on working capital. Specifically on cars in transit, as noted in our press release on October 2nd, We've started to experience limits on outbound logistics capacity, which we didn't anticipate. This issue is particularly present for ships from Shanghai to Europe and local trucking within certain parts of the US and Europe. Our historical operating pattern of batch building by delivery region leads to extreme concentrations of outbound logistics needs in the final weeks of each quarter.
Yep.
Just to put this in perspective, roughly 2/3 of our Q3 deliveries occurred in September and 1/3 in the final 2 weeks. As a result, we've begun to smooth regional builds throughout the quarter to reduce our peak needs for outbound logistics. We expect this to simplify our operations, reduce costs, and improve the experience of our customers. As we look ahead, our plans show that we're on track for the 50% annual growth in production this year, although we are tracking supply chain risks which are beyond our control. On the delivery side, we do expect to be just under 50% growth due to an increase in the cars in transit at the end of the year, as noted just above. This means that, again, you should expect a gap between production and deliveries in Q4, and those cars in transit will be delivered shortly to their customers upon arrival to their destination in Q1. Austin and Berlin ramp costs will continue to weigh on margins, although we expect the impact to be less than what we saw in Q3. And as Elon mentioned, we are continuing to build as many cars as possible while also maintaining strong operating margins. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's go first through the shareholder questions. The first shareholder question is, given the stringent battery content and assembly requirements for consumer tax credit eligibility under the Inflation Reduction Act, can you speak to Tesla's ability to meet those thresholds in each of 2023, 2024, and 2025 with your existing and planned supply chain?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think just at a high level, I'd say we do expect to fully meet the IRA's requirements.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we view the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act as a significant boost towards accelerating our mission, while also scaling the battery supply chain at large in the United States. We expect Treasury to publish detailed guidance by the end of the year. Until such time, it's difficult to fully determine the eligibility criteria, but we believe Tesla is very well positioned to capture a significant share of that for solar storage and also electric vehicles.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we're going to go basically pedal to the metal as fast as humanly possible to get to 1,000 gigawatt hours a year of production in the U.S. Vertically integrated.
Yeah, that's good news for resources from Canada.
Thank you. Yep. Let's go to the next question. The next question is, what updates can you offer on the backlog and recent order intake trends, especially outside of the US and especially in China?
Well, it's there's definitely, China is experiencing a bit of a recession of sorts, which is property market, seems to be driven by property market mostly. And Europe has a recession of sorts driven by energy. The US actually is in pretty, North America is in pretty good health, although the Fed is raising interest rates more than they should, but I think they'll eventually realize that and bring it back down again. So, demand is a little harder than it would otherwise be, but as I said earlier, we are extremely confident of a great Q4, and we anticipate continuing to grow our vehicle production, sales, and deliveries by, on average, 50% a year as far into the future as we can see.
Thank you.
Actually, one caveat, I should say, growing production by 50% every year, because deliveries, we're trying to smooth out the deliveries and not have this crazy delivery wave at the end of every quarter. So, in fact, we were just fundamentally running out of, there weren't enough boats, there weren't enough trains, there weren't enough car carriers to actually support the wave. Tesla got too big. So, whether we like it or not, we actually have to smooth out the delivery of cars.
A good problem to have.
Just aren't enough transportation.
Now we know what those semis are for.
Objects to move them around.
Thank you. The next question is, do you still expect 50% annualized growth for the foreseeable future? Is this also true specifically for the Chinese domestic market? Do you expect to need to cut vehicle prices or offer incentives in any market to sustain the demand? Or has demand remained stable, or is it even rising? Quite a few questions there.
Well, like I said, we want to sort of focus on the high level on what we think is possible here. To the best of our knowledge, we believe that Tesla will continue to grow deliveries and revenue production at a 50% or greater compound annual growth rate. It might occasionally be a year that is a little less, and then some years will be maybe a little more or a lot more. In some of our out-year planning, we see potential annual growth rates that are in excess of 50%.
Thank you. The next question is, can you tell us more about the product feature roadmap beyond new models and FSD, and especially for interior and powertrain of existing vehicle models?
Yeah. we could, but we won't. Sorry, guys. We can't like jump the gun on future product announcement.
Committed to continuous improvement.
Yeah, we obviously will continue. Yeah. There's obviously Tesla's not yet. We'll also be committed to continuous improvement. Yeah, at Tesla, we've always been committed to continuous improvement. So, as friends of mine ask me, like, when should I buy a car? I'm like, now, because we just keep improving the cars. It's always the latest Tesla. Yeah, best Tesla, the latest Tesla. So, and I really, yeah, the new, every now and again, we do have some, big technology upgrade like Plaid. And by the way, I think the Plaid Model S and X are just the best cars on earth. Best. There's nothing even close, in my opinion. Just try one. Yeah. Epic.
Just try one.
Thank you. The next question is, we keep hearing of dire energy crisis in Germany this winter. What are Tesla's plans to combat power cuts? And will there be any delays in ramp up in production from Giga Berlin because of this?
3 power walls.
Yeah, I can take
Just
it.
like I have in my house.
I think 2 points on this question. The first is that, based upon everything that we know, we don't see this as a large risk to the company. Even if production did go down for a period of time, this is all near term. It doesn't have any impact on the long term of the company.
But we have no indication whatsoever that we will have to cut our production in Germany.
No. And we put in place backup plans, and we're working through the supply chain as well. Nearly all of our suppliers are prepared as well. So we'll see how this plays out, but it's not something that we're terribly worried about.
Supply chain resilience has become.
And the next question is, how is production planning going for the Cybertruck? What is the initial phase 1 production target? When can we expect an update on pricing?
Which was something that Toyota used to be really good at.
Yeah, I mean, as Elon said earlier, we've begun facilities preparations here in Giga, Texas for Cybertruck. We're still on track to enter early production in the middle of next year. We've started our beta builds of all of the body and existing.
When can I drive my beta? That's the question.
In a few weeks.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that's going well. We continue ramping that through the end of next year.
So he's just like the rest of us.
Yep.
Yeah, that car's gonna be sick, man. Sick. That's gonna be a Hall of Famer, next level.
Sick.
Sorry, it took it longer than expected, but there were a few things that got in the way, like insane global supply chain shortages and pandemics. Yeah, sure. Force majeure if there ever was one.
All right, thank you.
Of course, Tesla Semi, of course. So we'll be handing over our first production Tesla semis to Pepsi on December 1st. I'll be there in person, and we'll begin ramping up production of the Tesla Semi, which is a max load heavy truck.
Yeah, that's the Class 8 truck.
Class 8 truck.
No sacrifice to cargo capacity.
Yeah, no sacrifice. Exactly. Very important. No sacrifice to cargo capacity. 500-mile range. I'll just be clear, right?
500 miles with the cargo. Just,
Yeah, 500 miles with the cargo on level ground. Yeah, fair. You know, so not up. You know, close.
Not in standing
but the
water?
point is, it's a long range truck, and even with heavy cargo. And the number of times people told me, "Oh, you can't. It's impossible to make a long range,
Bill G.
heavy duty Class A truck." And then I asked, well, what are your assumptions about watt hours per kilogram and watt hours per mile? And they would look at me with a blank stare and then say hydrogen. I'm like, no, that's not the answer. That's a number. Literally, that's not a number. That's an element on the
That's
periodic
not
table.
engineering.
Anyway, you obviously don't need hydrogen for heavy trucking. That's what we're trying to make here.
Awesome.
And we'll be ramping up semi-production through next year. As you know, like everyone knows at this point, it takes about a year to ramp up production. So we expect to see significant. We're tentatively aiming for 50,000 units in 2024 for Tesla Semi in North America, and obviously we'll expand beyond North America. And these would sell. I don't want to say what exact prices, but they're much more than a passenger vehicle. So the 50,000 heavy trucks of this nature would be worth several Model Ys.
Thank you. The next question is, what is the progress of the 4680 cell ramp, and what factors determine whether vehicles get 2170s versus 4680 cells, and how will that change in the next year?
Yeah, ramp is going well. As Elon said, total output is up 3x quarter over quarter, and production is tracking to exceed 1,000 car sets per week this quarter, as we said last quarter. Our focus is now shifting from 100% ramp to cost and further expanding production capacity in North America, as Elon also mentioned. On the 2170 versus 4680 in our factories, we really attempt to minimize factory complexity and product changeover, while still making sure we get enough new product into the field to learn how it is performing. And that sort of mix is going to shift as the 4680 scales here and the overall factory ramp proceeds in Texas.
Right. But basically, in a nutshell, 4680 ramp is growing exponentially, and yeah, it's going well. It's looking good. This
Yeah,
is going to be a very major factor in the future.
there are a lot of packs upset.
Yes. Like I said, our goal is to strive towards 1,000 gigawatt hours a year of annualized production in the United States alone by Tesla, not including suppliers.
Be nice if you said what they're at today.
Suppliers would be on top of that.
we need to get 300 to 400 terawatt hours built.
Yeah, but the fact that they're switching to cost
There's roughly
is good
to
news for
transition
quality.
both to sustainable energy. Our rough calculation for both stationary and vehicles is 300 to 400,000 gigawatt hours, or 300 to 400 terawatt hours.
But when you're like 1 terawatt hour sounds like a lot. Well, it's a lot of terawatt hours to go.
Yeah, and I should say, like, on the cathode side, the main cathode we think would probably be iron, and most of the iron, because iron can scale to very, very high tonnage, and then some nickel. The exact percentages are hard to figure out, but it's probably at least twice as much iron cathode as nickel, maybe more, and then there's the manganese wild card as well. Does that sound right to you?
Yep.
Okay.
And on that note, we're pursuing aggressively North American iron cathode supply.
Yeah.
And have, we can talk more about that at a future date.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. The next question is on the semi-truck, which we already addressed, so I'm going to skip to the next one. Can you talk about how Tesla could adjust if we were to enter a prolonged recession, including new product prioritization, investment flexibility, new factory versus factory expansion, service support infrastructure, productivity cost measures, and demand stimulation alternatives?
Bit of a BS
Well,
question.
to be frank, we're going pedal to the metal, come rain or shine. So we are not reducing our production in any meaningful way, recession or not recession. So
That's smart.
It's the
It
1%
means you come out
fluctuation.
of if your competition withdraws and you don't.
I think the public at large realizes that the world is moving towards electric vehicles, and that it's foolish to actually buy a new gasoline car at this point, because the residual value of that gasoline car is going to be very low.
Stats are proving that.
So I think we're having to be in a very good spot. That I wouldn't say it's recession proof, but it's certainly recession resilient. Because
Nice to be in a growing
both
market
has-
segment.
the people of both have, in large part, made the decision to move away from gasoline cars to electric cars. And then in transitioning electricity generation to sustainable, you need solar and wind with a stationary battery pack to buffer the power. So you have 24/7 power because the wind doesn't blow all the time and the sun doesn't shine all the time. So that also is, we actually see the energy storage business, stationary storage, growing more like, I don't know, 150 to 200% a year.
Whoa.
So faster than cars by a lot.
Yeah, sorry, just to add, before you jump in, Martin.
More mega packs.
Just to echo Elon's
It makes
point,
sense.
I think, where our cash balance is, what our forecasted cash generation is, where our margins are as a company, we can withstand quite a lot of downside before we would have to dig into our capital plans, supercharger expansion, product lineup. So, the business has done quite well over the last handful of quarters. And this is a real opportunity, I think, for the company to press forward in the most aggressive way, as Elon is mentioning.
Yeah, we try to model out, like, let's say 2023 is a brutal recession year. Even then, we generate meaningful cash.
Yeah, no reason to slow
Out
down.
of that 2024 plus
Processes and team cohesion, and yeah, just keep doing
Great,
it.
thank you very much. And let's go to the last investor question, which is the progression from Tesla's first platform with S and X to the second platform with 3 and Y led to 50% reduction in cost of goods sold. What do you see Tesla's third platform being released, and what level of cost of goods sold reduction could you achieve?
Model
We
next.
don't want to talk exact dates, but this is the primary focus of our new vehicle development team, obviously. But we're at this point, we've done the engineering for Cybertruck and for Semi, and so obviously you can guess what we're working on, which is the next generation vehicle, which will be probably about half the cost of the 3Y platform. It'll be smaller, to be clear, but it will, I think, swiftly exceed the production of all our other vehicles combined.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're going to take everything we learned from SX, 3Y, Cybertruck, and Semi and pour it into that platform. But we, as you've said to us many times, we're on a 2-for-1 target. So,
yeah,
that implies that trying to get to that 50% number again.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like what would it take to. That's exactly what Lars strikes is what we're trying to figure out. How do we make 2 cars for the amount of effort that it currently takes us to make one Model 3?
Single casting.
Yeah, effort, costs,
Yeah, all things
efficiency,
considered.
all those things. Half the loss.
Sold at Walmart in a box.
Half the factory floor space.
IKEA, some assembly required.
And I do believe.
Hopefully the instructions are better than the Starlink pictograms.
By the way, I should mention that when I said that probably that I see a path, again, extreme, very difficult path, incredible execution required, massive amount of hard work and some luck to get to where Tesla is worth as much as Apple and Saudi Aramco combined. I wasn't including Optimus.
Why doesn't he just say 10 trillion?
Because he's thinking 100.
Thank you. Let's go to analyst questions next. The first question comes from Adam Jonas from Morgan Stanley. Adam, go ahead and unmute.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Elon, would you consider vertically integrating into mining? That's my first question.
We'll do whatever we have to.
Didn't you just say that?
Whatever the limiting factor is, we'll do. We do not artificially constrain ourselves. We don't vertically integrate just for the hell of vertically integrating. Like if there's a great supplier who's better than us, or we think at least very good, or even where the economics of comparative advantage suggests that we should use that supplier, even if we could beat them, but we could use our resources to do something else that would be more productive, then we won't insource in that case.
Refining is more of a bottleneck than mining.
But if we have to go mine, we will mine.
Okay, thanks, Elon. My follow-up is, 1 terawatt hour of manufacturing in the United States, vertically integrated. I guess my question is, what would need to change with U.S. permitting laws to allow that? Kind of what would be your message to this administration or next?
If he needs 100, why just do
And
one?
do you think you could do a terawatt hour? What's the going price of that? Can you do that for under $100 billion in the States? Thanks.
Well, I think that the message to the government would be that there should be, I should say we've actually had conversations with a number of senior government leaders, White House, Congress, and whatnot. And the suggestion that we have is that there should be an expedited permitting process for anything which is critical to a sustainable energy future. So it doesn't make sense to put like a coal mine and a sustainable energy battery like lithium mine in the same category.
That's another way to call that future there, Patrick.
Future, lithium does.
A future free from fossil fuels, yeah.
Almost no disturbance.
Let's get the red tape going the right way.
The local
slow down the coal mines, speed up the lithium mines.
It's not like some ugly, nasty mine situation. So I would recommend expedited permitting would really be helpful. Basically, yeah, fast track environmentally. I think it sounds fast track things that are important for the environment and humanity's future on Earth. That seems logical.
Common sense.
And the reception has been positive, so we'll see if something happens with that. I think probably on this earnings call, we're not ready to get into financial details of what it would take to get there, but what we are seeing is radical improvements as we redesign the whole supply chain and all of the elements that go into battery cell. We're figuring out dramatic efficiencies that I think will the net result of which would be that the capital required to achieve that level of output will be much less than what people think.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the next question from Colin Langan from Wells Fargo. Colin, go ahead and unmute. Colin, can you click unmute?
Oh, you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Any update on full self-driving? I think you had said a couple quarters ago it would be available by the end of the year. Is that still possible? Would it still be like a level 4 or level 5 that you're talking about? And are there any sort of regulatory hurdles you'd have to think about?
As I said earlier, we're expecting to release the full self-driving software to anyone who orders the package by the end of this year. It's a separate matter as to will it have regulatory approval. It won't have regulatory approval at that time. But but the car will be able to take you from your home to your work, your friend's house, to the grocery store, without you touching the wheel. So
that'll be in beta.
And
they
driver
would mean
required.
like level 4, level 5 kind of traditional definition you're talking about.
Touch optional?
Well, there's a debate as to like what are the interventions per mile and all those, maybe the safety interventions per mile. Like we're not saying that that's quite ready to have no one behind the wheel. It's just that you will almost never have to touch the vehicle controls,
which means it's level 2.
So like when I came to Giga Texas today,
you have to be attentive
from
that's going to be the issue.
Friend's house,
right?
I never touched any of the controls all the way in here. And then there is a longer process of like what's called the March of Nines, of like how many nines reliability do you need before you can really be comfortable saying that the car can drive with no one in it. That's there's some subjectivity as to how many nines you need, but I think we'll be pretty close to having enough nines that you can have no one in the car by the end of this year, and certainly without question whatsoever in my mind next year. And I think we'll also have enough data next year to be able to show to regulators that the car is safer, much safer than the average human.
Bring it. Also, auto steer while towing.
Just as a follow-up, you mentioned in the prior questions about IRA. I mean, it sounded like you thought you could get. Can you get all of it? I mean, because my interpretation is like the production credits, battery component credits for buyers seems very likely for you guys. Is the sourcing part of it possible? Because that seems like a pretty tough hurdle given how much has to be sourced from the U.S.
North America, not U.S.
So we have a cross-functional team that's looking very closely at it. As you mentioned, the sourcing threshold increases by the year. So we're looking at all options and also getting some clarification from Treasury. It's important to say that's only a fraction of the other credits. We do manufacture ourselves in the U.S. We manufacture the modules in the U.S. So that's pretty free and clear. So yes, we feel confident that we'll have a path as these incentives, as the threshold sort of increases by the year.
Yeah, we'll meet those thresholds.
Most American-made car there is.
Thank you. The next question comes from Colin Rush from Oppenheimer. Colin, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thanks so much, guys. You know, the operating leverage has been pretty impressive here, and I'm curious about areas where you could, invest in an incremental way, whether it's on the R&D side or on the sales side to accelerate growth or cost reduction, or should we be thinking about this level of spend on a go-forward basis and some significant operating leverage as you scale up from here?
Yeah, I mean, our operating leverage has improved quite a bit. It's the lowest this quarter, I think, ever, and by a decent amount. Our OPEX as a percentage of revenue. I mean, our forecast is that it will keep reducing. I mean, I think the way to think about it is, our total amount of operating expenses will slowly tick up as the company grows. It's very hard to keep it flat with the rapid growth of the company, but it's growing much slower. So some amount of growth there, but the top line of the business is growing so quickly. So I think there continues to be enormous opportunity to improve the overhead efficiency of the business, and we're seeing it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
All right, great, guys. I'll take the rest of that offline.
We are in the at least for now, quite good position of we're investing in everything we can think of to possibly invest in, and we're still generating cash. So I guess it's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, how many R&D programs are we running in parallel right now?
People don't even know all the R&D stuff we're doing.
There are some of it, but a bunch of it they don't. I also don't think cash is a good gauge of how much R&D you're. No, it isn't. Because it's like this. Like it's not like it's not like engineers are they're not generic. So it's just like, oh, if you spend,
the 1 month baby,
5 billion or 10 billion, that will that your actual R&D or in terms of useful product ship will be proportionate to that. It's just not true. Engineers aren't coming off some assembly line like cookies or something.
Until we get Optimus coming.
Yeah, Optimus will change things. What matters is where are the most brilliant people working, and Tesla remains Tesla and SpaceX are two companies where the smartest engineers want to work. I mean, like, we don't have to spend billions of dollars to invest in the future and invent the future. Engineers are also cost conscious, and we don't necessarily just burn money out the window when we're trying to do R&D. So I would stop looking at like R&D as a cash investment for how much we're doing. Like 1 nickel at Tesla is frankly worth an infinite number of dollars of engineers. Well, you can have like almost an infinite number of good engineers. And they would not be able to do what 1 nickel at Tesla could do. You can't make it up in volume.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to the next question from George at Canaccord. George,
hi, good afternoon, and thanks for taking my question. I think it was at your annual shareholders event where Elon mentioned that the prices of many of the materials used in your production have started to come off the boil. If that continues, does that give you an opportunity to adjust prices globally after several increases? Thanks.
Well, we're looking at the prices at our prices closely. I mean, obviously, anyone can just Google what the price of the future price of copper or steel is going to be. It's just like one Google search away. And everyone can see that the commodities on a go-forward basis are on a dropping line. But in electric vehicles, things like battery-grade lithium are still crazy expensive. So we've got a mixture of things where prices are dropping and things where prices are increasing.
I would say quarter-over-quarter, steel, aluminum has dropped anywhere between 17 to 20%. At the same time, on the battery side, the cost of shipping has come down tremendously. Like last year, the cost of a container on the spot market from Shanghai got as high as $20,000. Wow. And now it's $3,500, $3,600. It's come back to reality. So we're seeing deflation in a lot of commodities, with a few exceptions, as you mentioned, on batteries.
There's more deflation than inflation.
Definitely.
And again, this is publicly available information. Anyone can just Google it. And I think Kathy Wood at ARK Invest is trying to make this point over and over again to the Fed, and the Fed is not listening because they're looking out the rearview mirror instead of looking out the front windshield.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more context. So, commodity increases were the highest in Q3 that we've seen over the last 2 years. And so, when indexes change, it does take time before they flow through our financials. There's latency.
This is why I say the Fed's decisions make sense if you're looking out through the rearview mirror, but not if you look out the front windshield. And they should look out the front windshield.
Yeah, and so at least of what we know so far, so peak on the commodity side in Q3, I say peak, hopefully it stays the peak. Hopefully it starts to come down. That there is a small amount of reduction that we're seeing going into our Q4 cost structure, from steel and aluminum primarily. But it's less than 10% of the total increases we've seen so far. So, we're optimistic here based upon what we're seeing on the indexes for some of our cost structure, that this will start to come in over time. But I just want to set expectations that there's not some windfall of cost reduction in this space coming in Q4. Maybe some as we go into next year.
Yeah, we'll probably see some cost reduction in 2023. I'd be surprised if we did not.
And just as a follow-up, this is for Elon. With your pending acquisition of Twitter and your stakes in SpaceX and Neuralink and Tesla, how much would the combined companies benefit from operating under a single superstructure, if at all, similar to Google or Alphabet?
It's not clear to me what the overlap is. It's not zero, but I think we're reaching. I'm not Warren Buffett. I'm not an investor. I am an engineer and manufacturing person and a technologist. So, I actually work and design and develop products. That's what I do. So it's not we're not going to have a sort of portfolio of investments or whatever. So I don't know. I don't see an obvious sort of where they could get combined under an umbrella, at least right now. I'm excited about the Twitter situation because obviously I know that product incredibly well, and I think it's an asset that has been has sort of languished for a long time, but has incredible potential. Although obviously myself and the other investors are obviously overpaying for Twitter right now. The long-term potential for Twitter, in my view, is an order of magnitude greater than its current value.
Thank you. Let's go to the next question from Pierre Ferragu from New Street Research. Pierre, go ahead, please, and unmute.
Yes, Can you hear me, guys?
Sorry. Yeah, we can hear now.
Great. I'd love to have another update on 4680, Drew. And so last time we talked about it, it was question about scaling out manufacturing, and there were still a few things to get right. Is it fair to say that now you are at scale and it's just a question of logistics to get bigger? So that's question number one. And then question number two, on the kind of innovation and cost reduction and efficiency improvements kind of path that you described at the Battery Day, where are we today, and how much time is it going to take to deliver, all the potential you outlined then?
Well, I'll take the second question first. At Battery Day, we showed a timeline out to 2026 for all of the ideas we had proposed and had, shared with everybody then. And
yeah, I'd be surprised. I think we'll do better than that.
Yeah, I mean, but just that's the rough. Just gave you all, it's on that order. It's not like a month. It's not 6 months. It's years, and we are executing on all of those different ideas pretty aggressively in parallel with the OpEx that some people think isn't enough, but we're getting it done.
I mean, I'm not turning down POs,
No, yeah,
exactly. So
yeah, or great talent. Like we find awesome engineers, we bring them into the company, and people shouldn't believe we are turning people away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard problem, but we're solving it, and I think we still feel confident that the 4680 will be the most competitive battery cell in the world.
And it's the whole system around it, right? It's not necessarily a specific form factor. It's the attention to detail on how to break costs out of the manufacturing process, how to remove processing steps.
And all the way down, from the mine to the cell.
Yeah, exactly.
Many steps along the way.
Yeah, and for those who watch the YouTube videos, like our on-site cathode facility is coming together. Really excited about that, which is a part of the plan that we discussed on Battery Day.
Yeah, we're also building a lithium refinery
in Corpus Christi. Yeah. So we're making putting our money where our mouths are in all the various efforts that we discussed on Battery Day. On the technical challenges and the ramp question, which is your first question on 4680, look, no ramp is ever easy, even at the end when you're 80% to the end. Like it's still very challenging to get to the end, and that sort of leaning out of yield, the final cycle time, to achieve target. You mentioned logistics. It's not something that we're specifically focused on, I guess, but eventually could be a problem as we're talking about hundreds of gigawatt hours at different sites across the United States. But I would never sit here and say we have no challenges remaining, but we've made a lot of progress reducing technical risk in many areas. Cycle times have dramatically improved, yield has dramatically improved. And just walking the line here in Texas, like Martin was walking it yesterday, made some comments to me. You really see the acceleration around you. And we've made a ton of simplifications moving from the Fremont factory to Texas, and it's coming to play in speed of ramp here. And of course that's on one line of many here in Texas. So it's not like factory to factory. It's a multiplication of both simplicity and scale. So we're excited about where it's headed.
Yeah, and I think once we are fully integrated, I think we still do see a path to pull a roughly $70 kilowatt hour cell. So $70 per kilowatt hour cell. Yeah. Before any incentive. Before incentive. Yeah. Yep.
That's
Thank you.
interesting.
And the next question comes from Tony Sacconaghi from Bernstein. Tony, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the 4680 cells and where we are seeing them deployed today. So are those in the semis that are being delivered on December 1st? Are we seeing them in Model Ys that are being produced out of Austin? And do you anticipate 4680 being a gating factor for Cybertruck ramp later this year? And how do you balance the need for 4680 across semi, Cybertruck, and potentially Model Y in 2023? And I have a follow-up, please.
Wow. Okay. Well, a semi doesn't use 4680s.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. So we are making Model Ys. Some of the Model Ys coming out of Giga Texas are 4680. And I think, Drew, the car you drive around is 4680.
Yep.
Model Y.
10,000 miles.
10,000 miles. Yeah, it's pretty good.
No problems yet.
Yeah. Structural pack. Yeah. So, I mean, our output of 4680 is growing exponentially. So, but it's worth bearing in mind that there are entire highly competitive companies
2170s
that
if it's
are
coming
very
out of
smart,
Nevada.
that all they do is make battery cells. This is simply one segment of Tesla.
Yeah.
So, it's not a total walk in the park.
It'd be weird to put anything else in it because then you're adding transportation
there are
costs
challenges still
when
ahead that
there's a
we have
battery
not
factory
yet
right
surpassed,
underneath.
no doubt.
Good point.
We don't anticipate this being any limiting factor for Cybertruck or anything else.
Okay, thank you. And the last question comes from William Stein from Truist. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Great, thanks for taking my question. I guess I'll go at one that I asked last time, Elon, which is your expectation for the likelihood of commercial success in each of the three major AI endeavors, FSD, sort of as imagined without a driver, the training computer, and of course Optimus.
We'll achieve full self-driving, full autonomy. My probability of that occurring is 100%. And I think we'll, we're almost there. And then of course we got to prove it to regulators and get the regulatory approvals, which is outside of our control. But I mean, anyone who's driving full self-driving, has the full self-driving beta in the car, can see the rate of improvement. You just experience for yourself that we are in fact getting there. In fact, we almost are there.
Still a lot to be done, but it's good.
So,
it's really good.
Achieving that 100%.
Depending on what part of the country you're in.
Especially that.
Optimus, probably that
U-turns
being
for
a
one.
successful product, I think also extremely high. Given enough time, 100%. Dojo.
Picking the right lane when you've got turn coming up.
It's maybe more of a question mark on Dojo of like,
Yeah,
can
it
we be
got that massively
competitive
wrong
with
for me recently.
NVIDIA GPUs, even as
they can do
NVIDIA
it. It's just
continues to rapidly
so
evolve
close.
their GPUs.
So far.
So I said the jury's out on Dojo. Dojo team thinks they can outperform NVIDIA for neural net training. But the jury's out, and we'll probably, I don't know, next year if that's if that's true or not. But we think we're probably. We think it's let's say the architecture of Dojo is the right architecture to win. It depends on how well we execute within that architecture.
So why wouldn't they? Would it be scale, or would it be if NVIDIA's are they
Thank you
buying
very
current
much.
hardware each time?
I think, unfortunately, it's all the time that we have today. So thank you so much for your great questions, and look forward to talking to you in about 3 months from now. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I think, Casey, it's an issue of them all working together as a complete unit. I don't think that they've been able to scale it to that size yet, and I think that they're going to be in a testing phase until they can actually do that.
Yeah.
When Jim Keller was on the Lex Friedman podcast, he talked about how you start reaching the limit of the current architecture, you design a new architecture to overcome those limits. But then with that new architecture, it actually starts out like 30 or 40% slower than the existing one. And you're like, why would that be? Well, because it's not optimized yet.
Right.
All the supporting infrastructure is not there yet. It's not software optimized. And so eventually you catch up and you pass the existing, and then you can exceed it because you have an architecture built to exceed it. But just because you've first built it, that doesn't mean you start out ahead of it.
Well, kind of like we've seen when they rolled out every feature on the cars, because they roll them out as soon as it's capable, not as soon as it's finished. So, like when you had the vision wipers, you had I still say they aren't good. All the various updates to autopilot, like the new one doesn't do as well as the existing one for months.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's one step back to take 2 steps forward, but yeah, you experience that one step back. Yep.
Shocking revelation during the call.
Yeah.
Semi's not using 4680s.
Wow.
I thought it was a bit weird they were building it in Nevada, but if it's not using 4680s, that makes a lot more sense now. I mean, not just because they have the floor space, but the batteries now only have to go half a mile instead of
batteries are just down the road. Yep.
Yeah. Right. And they can certainly do the high nickel in any form factor.
Yeah.
But doesn't that kind of worry us about the 4680? They're
not
up to speed.
Well, yeah, there's that part, but
that's the concerning part is the volume, because we thought the semis were going to use a lot of cells.
Yes.
Well, they will, but see, here's the thing: is if you can transition Y to 4680s, then all your 4680s are spoken for, and now you've got all the 2170s that were going into Y that you don't need anymore. Put them in the semi. The S and X are still using 18650s to this day.
Yeah, but I think we all assumed that because of the price of the semi, what it was being offered at originally, it's changed obviously.
Yeah.
But what it was being offered at, and the amount of mileage and the chargeability, we all thought that you had to have that more optimized battery to obtain those things.
It didn't hurt that they put it on the slide next to the 4680 cell. They kind of did this to themselves. Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense with 2170s. If you just parallel them well enough, you can do this. I mean.
Yeah, and we have learned that even the 18650s have been optimized for the new version of the S and the X, so they can charge faster now. They've changed the chemistry, so not a problem.
But it seems if you have less CAN in there, it would be lighter and more efficient.
Well, yeah, because you're putting basically 4 batteries in one, so that was a savings there as well.
And that's 4 2170s. Imagine that'd be like 6 18650s.
Right. So this could actually be good news in that it means that the 4680s that they are producing are going to be available for the Y, and it's the Y ramps and structural pack, and if the semi doesn't need structural pack.
I would be. I'd be upset if they put them in the semi truck instead of the Cybertruck. If the Cybertruck needs them and the semi just could use them.
Right. Yes. The semi takes a lot of cells, so the fact that it's not using the latest and greatest makes it available for the rest of the product line. That's actually good news.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that Tesla's a little bit behind on the 4680
for sure.
development, and I think that they're developing contingency plans that would allow them to swap basically what they need.
Well, I mean, we see that in Austin, where Austin's actually
smart.
building both batteries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that as they get closer to the end of the year, when they're supposed to be delivering Cybertruck, I wonder if some Cybertrucks will be 2170s if they're not quite there. That is only 2 months away.
Right.
Like, we are not far away from that deadline. How many batteries have been produced over the last 6 months at Cato? How many batteries have been produced elsewhere? How many batteries are going to be produced at the second floor and Fremont factory?
Yeah. But if they haven't engineered it already to take the second pack, is this going to slow it down even more? Because they've already delayed it quite a while.
Yeah. So I bet you there's a contingency plan for that. I'm not saying they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they probably planned for it just in case.
It's like I keep saying, you can do a structural with 2170s. It's just if you have to make a machine to do it for the 4680s and it's not adjustable, now you've got two machines that you're going to throw away after a while.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that will be interesting to see as we get closer to that December deadline, self-imposed deadline. It could lapse a little bit into next year. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's a little bit disappointing that they haven't got that 4680 thing nailed down. Even they were asked about that in the call specifically, and they didn't say it was nailed down. They said they were on track based on what was said at Battery Day.
At the very earliest, they haven't.
At the very earliest, Casey is cut off.
Thanks, Elon.
And we're back.
And I think the problem is we keep bouncing over to Starlink. We have it at the very earliest until the AdvaPress is delivered and installed. At the very, very earliest. I don't think that once that's up and running, they got to test it. They got to get it ready to go. So they've got a little bit of time yet to figure out what's going on with 4680s. Plus, it's going to take a year to ramp it, right? So as long as the volumes aren't too low when it launches, then
it sounds like as soon as Elon can get his hands on the prototype that's going to be the alpha version, he's going to be driving it around. So there'll be lots of pictures of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nothing like being pressured by Elon right on a call. When's my truck coming?
Where's my damn truck? It's going to be cool, right? Yeah, it's going to be the coolest ever.
Yes, boss. Yes.
What was he going to say? Oh, actually, we're delayed. That was not going to happen on a live call.
You told me in front of everybody that it was going to be ready. What the hell, man?
Yes, indeed. What else did you guys think about what was revealed? Anything else that stuck out to you that was maybe a bit surprising or something that was of interest?
I'm glad FSD wide release beta is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because right now you could sign up for this subscription and be paying monthly, and all you get is the safety score out of it.
Yeah.
And that just seems wrong. If you are paying for it, either they should say, okay, well, when it's available to you, get the safety score and you can start paying us when we give it to you.
Right.
But they don't. They take your money and then give you nothing except the safety score and a maybe you'll get it.
Yeah.
That just seems wrong.
That's not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I found kind of interesting in that same conversation was when Elon was talking about driver, what does he call them, interruptions, or the driver will not have to make many corrections to the drive. And I'm thinking, can't sell it that way. Like that's not
Right.
You can't tell a person you're probably never going to have to touch the wheel because that person is not going to pay attention. That's going to be a problem.
Right.
I know that they make you sign an agreement when you get FS beta that they FSD beta that it's telling you that you have to be alert at all times. But saying what he did during the call, that doesn't help that because
Especially
because
if you
people
don't
are now
drive in
thinking
California.
I'm probably never going to have to touch the wheel as I go to the grocery store. Like that's what I heard during the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but probably he had that word in there, and that one kind of matters.
It does, and eventually it'll be there, but not at release.
Yeah.
I don't even think it'll be there when they get their driver's license.
You mean the regulation pass?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When the car has a license to operate itself, it's still not going to be there, but it'll be close. But if what Patrick and I and everybody else that's outside of California has seen, that was like you said. Depending on who's listening, that's a bit too much of a.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get where he's coming from, and I get he's enthusiastic, but that was too much of a sell there.
It's not like he's selling to people in this call. He's answering questions, but again,
but like you said, somebody's going to hear that and totally misinterpret it.
Yeah,
I think they're misinterpreting it now. I really do.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that how much of us read the fine print. When
there'd be less breathless articles
read
written.
Something.
Yeah,
like it's something that it's got to be promoted all the time, but not in a sales manner. It's got to be promoted that you have to pay attention.
Oh my goodness! The guy manually drove into the back of a truck by hand. Oh, we got to end FSD. It's like what? Excuse me.
Yeah. So that still exists, and like both of you have said, it's not as good as they're saying it is, based on your real world experience in the areas that you live.
That's no hands right there, Derek.
Right.
If you get it with a football, just walk.
Yeah. So it's there's still some hurdles to overcome, and the regulators are certainly going to be looking at those in the individual states that they're trying to get it approved in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just had this. I was doing a drive, and it was late at night, so there was nobody else on the road, and it said I need to take a left coming up. And there's 2 lanes going north, and I'm in the left lane, which makes sense. We're going to go left. And it changed to the right lane. Why would it do that? And then these 2 lanes become 4 lanes going north. And when it became 4, it got over to the right again. And yet the navigation still says I need to make a left.
In 0.1 miles.
Right. And then when we were like 4 meters from the intersection, it realizes this, and it changed over 2 lanes. And then for the right turn, that light was green. For the left turn, the light was red. And it started to go through the left turn. And I don't know if it's because it already had seen the green light over there or what. So I slammed on the brakes because I wasn't going to, even though there weren't any cars around, I wasn't going to let it go through a red light.
Right.
Tap.
How far into the intersection when you slammed on the brakes? Like you were definitely over the line, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The car was maybe a third of the way over the line.
Okay.
I mean, so yeah, it was entering the intersection.
So I was in Richmond last night, headed to actually Richmond, yes, but it was Mechanicsville, Virginia. I was headed to the Mechanicsville supercharger, and the car took the right turn. Well, first it tried to be in the left-hand lane. I told it don't do that, and before I could realize what was happening, because the way that the lane was structured, it took the right turn lane into Zaxby's instead of going straight and then taking the next available right turn into the supercharger. And at the last minute, it tried to get back on the road when it realized this mistake. But now I've got some good old boy truck behind me trying to run us through. And so I was like, no, you're just going to finish this turn that you were making, and then we'll figure it out from there. I mean, I'm sure physically you could have done it, but the last thing you want to do is just go back and forth and then blast it, because now he's reaching for his gun rack.
As a passenger that has a lot of skin in the game, you do not want to let the car gamble.
Right.
Right.
Me and the baby. Yeah.
You got to be safe first. Yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, if there were, I wouldn't have. I saw this coming. I mean, it was like, why does it keep getting into the right lane when it knows it needs to make a left? And if there would have been any other traffic around, I wouldn't have let it get over. I would have just. All you have to do is hit the turn signal sock and you can use that to have it change lanes without even doing an intervention of grab the wheel type intervention.
Yeah, but the visibility wasn't there for me to be sure that wasn't the turn. I could see on the map, I was like, that doesn't look right. But I'm like, well, maybe it knows a shortcut because it is a freaking supercharger. How many Teslas come here? And
that path should be well worn and optimized. Yes.
Right, and no.
Derek, you cannot give the car verbal suggestions. No.
Not yet. Get in the right lane, you freak.
But as Patrick said, you can use the signals, and that will physically tell the car that you want to move to another lane.
Until it decides that you were wrong and it wants to get in the other lane, you got to tell it again and again.
It really
you can also
does
hit
seem
the cancel button on the map. Yeah.
I'm not sure why. Yeah, it really likes the right lane. There's a weird
until it doesn't, and then it likes the left lane.
Yeah. It needs work.
Oh yeah. It's not perfect.
That's fine. That's what betas are for. I mean,
absolutely. It's just that when we see this and he says it's almost done, it's like conceptually I can see how that could happen, but evidentially I'm not seeing that.
You also have to figure that Elon drives on a route that 48 of his engineers are all over. They know every square inch of his route and the routes he's on typically because he'll tell them. So,
right, and then the other folks that are always saying how good it is in the beta with the YouTube on California, one, it's California. Two, like you said, the engineers probably drive that road themselves as well. And then the Chuck Cook turn, they actually called it out. This is Chuck Cook's turn. Let's make it work.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So if Casey and I tap the camera to submit some footage, it has like a 1 in 60,000 chance. If Elon taps it, it has a 1 in 1 chance.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Every time he taps it, it's in the training set.
So while we were in Richmond, I was setting up my mobile hotspot, and that was the place that was not roaming. That's why I was there. And so I said, all right, let's hook the car up to it. So the car hooked up to it, and I had at least 12 snapshots for it to go, and it didn't use any data. It's like, yeah, I got the internet. Here's the song you want next. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So evidently, whatever I put, the car's like, yeah, I know what's going on. I don't even need to send that in. But when I come home, it sends gigabytes upon gigabytes of data. Unless it knows that's a mobile hotspot, I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll use your bandwidth, not theirs.
That's all they care about. So yeah, I gave you the Wi-Fi, make it happen. I've heard of people who accidentally hook up like their iPhone or other smartphone and then turn on tethering, and then they get a text from their carrier saying, you're almost out of data for the month.
You better be on an unlimited plan if you're doing that.
Oh my goodness.
Very few unlimited tetherings.
Yes, very good. Yes, don't do that. Yeah. I was just doing it to stream Spotify while I was driving and not
right, and the car decided to send.
Yeah.
Any more updates for what we had just heard, or do you want to touch on anything, or should we go to
let's go to the topics.
Stories?
Yeah, let's go to topics.
All right. Here's an interesting one from that was sent in via Drive Tesla Canada. They've indicated that there is some talk about the loot box coming back in the referral program with different prizes. So this is kind of out of left field. Actually, we did hear about this when they first, when they first indicated they were going to drop the loot box. They said it would come back at some time in the future with some different type of prizes. So this is the first we've heard of it since that point. I haven't seen anyone else report on this. It was just sent out today. So we'll have to see if we get some more updates on this. There is talk about supercharger miles in this again. So is that going to be the case, or is there going to be something different or some addition? I believe we all thought that the supercharger miles idea was fantastic for both parties. And Tesla didn't lose all that much anyways. If they obviously own the network, but pushing sales just seemed to be a plus for everybody.
I'll be able to use some supercharger miles when that truck gets here.
Seems like a lot better idea than giving away roadsters.
Yes, yes.
It's just ridiculous.
Or multiple roadsters, I should say. I don't even mind giving away one or two, but like if you can get 2 or 3 or whatever, I think it was the limit of 2, but
yeah.
Next one we already touched upon, the next two actually, which was of course that the battery packs for Cybertruck going to be at Fremont factory to start, and Tesla Semi VIN decoder info by the NHTSA showed some light on production, and of course that photo that showed up today as well of the 24 vehicles, 24 semis in a parking lot was shown as well. So won't touch on those, but move to the next one.
Wait. So
Go
on
ahead.
the Semi, in that VIN decoder, we learned a couple of cool things, such as it's got the same prefix as all the other Teslas, meaning this is a Tesla, and vehicle type is truck, which also makes sense because what else could it be? But the digit 5 is for the type of cab, and they're all starting out with day cab, which leaves room for there to be a sleeper cab or any other type.
Yep.
And then they confirmed the gross weight rating and the motor assembly. I'm still wondering now that they've gone to tri-motor, is the steer axle also a drive axle, or have they gone plaid with like the rear tandem being a motor per side, and then the one in the middle being one drive axle?
Yeah, good point. Not sure how they divide up those three motors amongst the three axles.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they just did one on each axle, personally. Of course, the plan of manufacturer is Nevada, and the model year is 2023.
Very
No
cool.
surprise there, right?
No surprise there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Next, looks like Tesla has acquired a new
Derek,
storage spot.
Derek had a good question. Where's that picture? Because I didn't see it either.
Oh, okay. I'll work on that. You talk about the new facility in Illinois.
All right. The massive warehouse in Illinois. That's one I haven't read yet.
Oh, well, hey, so I looked up the market cap of Saudi Aramco.
Okay.
So a couple things that Musk said was Saudi Aramco plus Apple is how big he thinks Tesla can be.
Okay.
So Saudi Aramco is 7.9 trillion. Let's just call it 8 trillion, and Apple is 2.3 trillion. So together those two are 10 trillion. But then later he said he thinks it can be as big as twice as big as Saudi Aramco. So now he's talking 15 to 16 trillion. So it's less than 1 trillion today. It's been over 1 trillion Tesla has, but now he's saying it can get to 10 or 15 trillion.
Yeah. I can speak to the next article. So Tesla has released a nice little feature for you Model 3 and Model Y owners, where now they're starting to get cold again, and after all the controversy last year about and before about all the way back through 2017 about I can't get into my car because it's cold, and like Tesla's like, just hit it with the back of your hand until it lets you move it. Well, now there's a button in your app next to your phone key where you can unlatch the door and it'll just let go. So as long as it's not frozen shut with like frozen rain, it'll unlatch and you can just pull on it. Still no icebreaker, but now you're not worried about the handle.
Right. Are you guys seeing the share?
We are now.
Okay. So there's the shot from above. You can definitely see that they're semis.
Oh yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all out. 24 of them. So
nice. And a couple trailers.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Very much so.
I can't hide from the drone army.
Yeah.
I still think I want 2 of them.
Don't be greedy or anything.
They'll be running. They'll be working.
So, back to the ICE thing. Tesla, they've put heating elements around the charge port.
Yes,
right? So
on the newer
not,
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not do that around the driver handle as well? And the window has to come down a bit for it to clear the seam. So heaters along that part of the door, so that because when you get ice along the bottom, it can't drop. The seam that does
it would have to be around the whole window though, Patrick, because you can even get freezing rain that goes up to the top of the window, not just the base.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, plus the window, you got leakage from the cabin. Just run the heater.
Right.
no matter how much you run the heater, it's not going to make a huge difference on the charge port.
Right. Yeah. So a heating element around. Well, okay. Now they have a solution where you don't need the door handle.
Right.
And maybe if they had
Best
a
part is
mode,
no part.
yeah, if they had a mode where the cabin heaters pointed at the windows.
They could do that. Like just programmatically move it, because now they've got your cloud profile, so they know to put the vents back before you get in the car. Aim the vents at the window.
Right. Because they know nobody's in the vehicle. You've done it remotely, so that seems like it would work.
Yeah. Actually, I got a video that I can share of the door pop.
All right. I'm going to turn off this machine's access to Starlink. It's a lot more sensitive than the Mac was to it.
Oh, yep. There's the door pop. You saw it pop out.
Yep.
Without the handle moving at all.
Make it bigger, Mark. There we go.
So I'm going to show the application here in a moment. There it is. The new icon.
So it still won't work for frozen rain, but it'll work for everything else.
Yeah.
Pop. And then the screen comes on too.
Yep. It's not exactly a pop. It's just a let's go of the pin that holds it shut, versus like our cars with the icebreaker, where it actually pushes the door out.
Yeah.
Forcibly.
Yeah. And there's a nice little grab spot at the back of the door there that you can.
Do be careful if it's going downhill. Because like the
cars.
The Mustang Mach-E has got like a kickstand that pops out when you unlatch it, so that it can't smush your fingers. But that's not a part on the Tesla.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Don't smush your fingers. That's good advice.
It's painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next story we had on the list was about Gigafactory Texas new paint equipment showing up, right?
We had the Illinois warehouse that Patrick and I didn't speak to.
Oh, sorry. That is a 667,000 square foot facility in southern Illinois, just northeast of St. Louis is where it's located. So this is a storage facility. Not sure what Tesla's going to be using it for at this point, but there is, it's a multi-use location. It could be used for some manufacturing as well as storage, or some sort of a distribution delivery point as well. So it's on a main route coming into southern Illinois. So it'll be interesting to see what Tesla actually uses it for. Maybe Cato Road will be moving out there. I don't know.
They'll use it for delivery crushes at the end of the quarter, even though Elon yet again said they're not going to do
it. Exactly. So it's
nice to see though that they mentioned that there's now an externality about why they can't do it, because if they ran out of delivery slots, now they have to focus on getting the logistics straight. Otherwise, there's just waste. Even without the stock market jimmering in their ear, you've got cars that are sitting now, which means that they're on your bill instead of the customer giving you cash for them.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's anywhere near a train station. If you could put cars on a train in Austin, ship them up to Illinois that way, warehouse them there, and then have Tesla semis deliver them from there within 250-mile round or 500-mile round trip.
Yeah, that would be very helpful, wouldn't it?
Aren't they doing trains in Germany?
Yeah, but the in Europe the trains have a lot less of an issue because the freight companies don't own the track, and they're a little bit better at scheduling.
I have heard through other Twitter posts that Tesla is using trains more often from even Fremont.
Oh yeah. My car was delivered by train, but it was delayed.
And yeah, well, the problem with a train is exactly as you've said. It's not as direct and fast as a truck. It's just not, because they're going to staging areas. Mm-hmm. They're moving from train to train, and then they're going to some off-put facility. As Patrick mentioned, maybe this place in Illinois will have that ability.
Yeah.
But they're going to some sort of a rail yard where they're shuttled around again, then unloaded, then put on a truck, then delivered to the final customer. But
Right.
as mentioned in the call today, if Tesla could smooth out the delivery peaks and valleys, and they can do that by having different distribution centers across the country
Yeah.
that store these vehicles. But then again, that's at a point where they're not selling every car they make immediately. Like right now, everything is sold before it's even manufactured.
Right, but it's still a lot more logistically friendly to get all your semis coming from one spot than getting them all over the country. Because especially now, like with you see it with Model 3 and Model Y, where there's like 10 configurations. You've got 2 different colors and 2 different
Yeah.
interiors.
Well, as they've said, they can't keep up with it now.
Right, and then
When it
coming forward on Cybertruck, you've got one configuration, except for batteries and drivetrains. But there are no options on Cybertruck that we know
No paint
of.
colors, that's for sure.
Right. So all of this goes to like if we send 100 of them to the Illinois facility, all right, we know we've got 100 people that have orders waiting in that region. Now we don't have to worry about Casey got the only color that's canceled. We got to find him and get him his car and hope he doesn't cancel. Versus right now they fixed that because they only have 5 colors with 2 interiors, but there's still this case of everybody's on vacation. Oh, the car's ready. You need to get back from your vacation in 2 days because it's the end of the quarter, or we're going to sell it to somebody else. So I think this will help smooth that out if they use it for that. But even if they don't, Cybertruck itself will help with that part.
Interesting. I wonder what it's going to be. Yeah, we're speculating, but that might work.
Yeah. Next, we touched upon it. Texas Gigafactory is now getting an update to the paint shop. Obviously, they've been painting already because the Model Y is actually produced there. But there was there was a photo of them loading green, look like semi-trailers onto the second floor, rolling them in. So this is something that that they've identified as paint shop because of the placement of where they're being loaded on the second floor and what side of the factory it's at. So they're fairly confident this is the paint shop getting additional equipment.
So do we think this will equal or exceed the new Austin, the new Giga Berlin paint shops that he was bragging on? Because it's a little weird that they didn't match it when they were installed.
You would think if they were doing that, they would have mentioned it at some point. But it also could be, we don't want to Osborne ourselves. Maybe we just put in the paint equipment and start getting it up to speed, and then turn around and say, oh, by the way, we're now just as good as the Berlin because here's the new colors.
You can get the new blue and the new maroon and the new silver anywhere in the world, or at least from these 2 factories.
Yeah.
You're right. It could be that, especially right now in Berlin, they've got the new facilities, but other than the handful of tests, they only make white and black. They put in an application to make other colors, but for what we're hearing, it hasn't been approved yet. I don't understand. That's a lot of like, hey, can we make an orange car? We put in it's like as long as it meets your paint requirements, why not just let them do what was already approved?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's just the American in me. This sounds a little bit more like I understand having to get approval to build a battery line in Fremont because that's new engineering, new structure, big fire risk, etc. But just another color? Come on.
Yeah. Last thing we're going to touch upon this evening is this little photo, which you guys can take a look at.
Yep.
So kind of looks conspicuous. A couple of white crates outside that are slightly angled in a certain way.
I'd say they're the cyber planter. You're gonna get some trees for them.
They're jumbo cyber planters. That's exactly what they are.
Bigger than a 100-gallon container.
We're
That's
gonna plant
right.
trees instead of just shrubs.
Yeah, you can see the plant food over to the side of them. That's what that is.
That's what's a 7,500-gallon container over there?
I don't know the size of it at all.
It's huge.
But this obviously is a couple of Cybertrucks delivered. Probably came from Fremont. Probably came from maybe even, I'm sorry, not Fremont, but California. Probably Hawthorne.
Yeah,
the design studio.
center. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what is that next to them? Is that a windshield or something?
That is some sort of a container.
Oh.
It's got legs.
It's the spare parts.
Maybe that's what it is. But
This is everything you need to test the jigs.
now Tesla does have the ability that they've got a massive factory right beside where these are. So this was put out for the drone army. I'm pretty convinced of. Somebody wanted it to be spotted. They said put them right out back. It'll be photographed. You can see the little red T on one of the covers. So I am sure that that's why they were put out. You can also see a bit of a pallet on this one.
Oh,
you can see a pallet.
Huh.
So they've been put out to show that they've arrived, and maybe this, of course, is for the setting up of the line or lines of the Cybertruck.
Well, definitely you want to make sure that that the parts of the line after the body in white can take the structure. And I guess going into the body in white, you want to make sure that any jigs and welding machines can match up to the master blank versus before you let them roll on their own. Because if they all come out slightly off angle, that'd be bad.
You guys, of course, remember as the factory didn't even have all the walls on. Model Y in white showed up a few times, and they pushed it right to the edge where there was no wall.
Right.
So this is another one of those.
And they did it twice. They did it in Austin and Berlin.
Yeah.
Just a whole car ready to go and ran its way through the factory.
So this is Tesla letting us know that the Cybertruck line or lines are now going to start to be configured, and of course, with Idra's machines supposed to be arriving from Houston at any day now, it's certainly another piece of the puzzle.
Either that, or the drone army just happens to know when deliveries are happening. They're just too darn quick.
Who knows? Maybe some of the drone army has leaked a little thing. Hey, South End tomorrow, 3 p.m.
Hey, I'll meet you for lunch on Thursday if you meet me Wednesday at the East Dock at 3 p.m.
There you go. There you go.
Cybertruck beds, maybe. That could be the rear, the container, the beds.
Who knows? Who knows?
And then you said misleading reports about Berlin?
Yeah, misleading reports about the battery factory not being produced there. They were talking, a number of different stories came out saying that the 4680 rollout in Berlin was not going to happen because they were starting to ship back machinery to the US from Berlin. And it's like Tesla had to come out with a statement, said, no, just, we're still running the way we're doing it. Yes, we're going to be producing 4680s in Berlin, and we've got a certain schedule, and we're on track for that schedule. So this was just some stories, some rogue stories out there because of what they saw machinery leaving the plant had indicated that there was some trouble when it came to producing batteries in Berlin. That's not the case.
Warranty work. This whole machine is bad. Throw it away.
That's right.
Don't send the technician. Just get rid of the whole thing.
Get rid of it. We're rethinking the entire plan because we got a bad piece of machinery.
It's version 2. We're on version 8. Come on. Don't even bother installing that thing. So Derek's asking, so if you need a color paint in Deutschland, you need a special permit. And so from what I'm reading in the permits, like they had applied for a permit for another color and to the local council, and that's exactly what it sounds like to me. I mean, I could be reading too far into it, but they said, by the way, we only make cars in white and black, and we put in a permit for another color.
That's weird, isn't it?
I mean, maybe it's a North American mentality. I don't know.
Well, if anyone is in Europe, let us know if you know that permits have to be taken out for colors.
I wonder also if it might just be that particular place. The whole situation with the cardboard forest and the water contamination. Oh my goodness, you got a little bit of firefighting foam in the dirt. Did you want the place on fire? By the way, the fire department put that foam in the dirt, not Tesla.
Oh man, yep. Cardboard forest.
So they the rest of that story they took they took a sample ants and bats and snakes. They took a sample of that dirt and they were now doing an analysis on it, and they may have to replace all of that dirt with fill dirt. The only thing that makes sense to me with this amount of frustration about the water is that perhaps that's an unfiltered aquifer or reservoir for the drinking water. That would be the only play I'd understand being that tuned in on it to the point where, oh my goodness, there was what they say, half a liter of paint when the paint factory had a leak.
Well, my question to any of these people on these boards is, do they have any clue as to what's going on with Ukraine and their gas supply?
Right. Right.
Because
not just the gas supply, but also
jobs. There is a big reduction coming shortly as winter sets in, and Europe, which Germany is a large part of, is going to be shouldering a lot of this. I would think getting anybody they could onto electric vehicle to reduce gas and petroleum imports would be number one on their list.
Exactly. And then also, like, all the times that these people are advocating to shut the plant down, thankfully the local council isn't talking about actually shutting the plant down, but they're listening to all these proposals. Isn't that one of Germany's top employers by location now? That just seems a little cutting the nose situation right there, cutting the nose despite the face. I mean, because if you shut Tesla down, it doesn't make BMW better. It just means that you've got 10,000 people twiddling their thumbs, waiting for whatever approvals to go through.
Yeah. Well, with that, that's over 2 hours, guys. That's quite a bit. We will get together next week. Well, first of all, Casey, any shout-outs from you?
Yeah, you can catch me at youtube.com at Casey Green. Or you can do /Casey Green. That works still, too. And I do a weekly live stream there, and my wife has been editing videos, so if she's got time to do it, I have not really much excuse to not be editing videos as well. So you'll be seeing more stuff going up there in the coming weeks.
Very good. Patrick, any shout-outs?
Sure. I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. Elon mentioned the March of Nines. You can go to carswithcords.net and look at March of Nines. And if you didn't know what that was, I explain all of that and how it applies to Tesla and how good is a human driver if you put it into nines. Are they 6? Are they 8? And that gives you a good idea of how much FSD has to improve before it could meet that threshold of being as good as a human. And as much as we are distracted, we're surprisingly good at not dying on the road most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Right. And I'm also with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. Thanks.
Very good. We thank Lee Moon for the music we're using. We thank Derek for staying with us for the entire show and sending us comments.
And the pre-show.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks to Hockey Day and JT and 010 who joined us as well in the chat room. So we will see you all next week and find out what's happening in the Tesla life. Good night, everyone.
Stay positive. Test negative.